look, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one of the things I always like to say with these sorts of things, I believe heavily in supplementation, love the science behind some of it. But I think it's time, as we say, time to look up the skirt of the industry. We pick on Big Pharma a lot. Well, now it's time to have a bit of a crack at the supplement companies out there. Because, I mean, if we're going to do it both ways, Steve, we've got to be fair, right?
You have to.
Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts, Steve and Jeff. G'day, mate.
How are you?
Good. We've been delayed in doing this podcast because we've been inundated with floods. But I have been wanting to do this one for a while, which is, and we couldn't work out the title to go with, so it'll be interesting to see what actually comes up here. But the top 5 worst supplements in history. The biggest supplement scams in history. Supplements that kill.
They do.
All of these things are true.
Some of them do.
And what's interesting, I guess, is that, Steve, I've been in the industry professionally since 2002. And, you know, it has been a bit of the Wild West. Now, I'm not a huge fan of over-regulation, but I think some of the stories we're going to talk about today shows why it's very important that there is regulation.
Some regulation,
And I think this is where we need to get... this is where we need to get the balance. And this is where I'm afraid sometimes, obviously, legislators over-legislate, but if it's just a free market, then you can see how people can get sick and die. But Steve.
Yes.
Mate, it's been a while.
I know.
Because we've been away with bloody rain and floods and everything. Tony and I were we woke up on Saturday morning after it being pouring. It was like I was expecting to see Noah's Ark float past. I mean, there was so much rain, right? Woke up in the morning and all the power was off. So the power died sometime during the night. We ended up losing power for nearly 5 days.
Really? I didn't know that.
Ended up nipping down to our local store to buy a generator. There was nothing on the shelf by the time that I got there, right? And there were 3 families there, but I'd rung up before and gone, hey, have you got any generators? They're like, oh, yeah, we've got one. What do you want? So I said this one. They go, yeah, we're restocking today. So I'm like, okay. So I'm anyway there, and there's all these people there looking for generators, looking a bit forlorn. I said, oh, don't worry. I said, they're actually restocking the shelves now. This is a big... We're going to Bunnings, right? It's a big place. And the guy that was with the other couples went, actually, no, there's the system's showing that there's 1 left and it's effectively already spoken for. And I'm like, oh. And then the woman came out that I'd spoken to and went, yes, your name's Jeff. Yes, we've got 1 left for you. So I kind of sort of sorry about that, people, right? But yeah, it was crazy. And in fact, what was amazing though with that is that that whole street we were flooding because of the falling water, and our yard's like a bowl, right? It just fills up. The pool overflowed, and it just starts running down the side of the house. And we've got louvers probably about that far. It was about an inch off. And so people came from all over the place with laundry buckets, right? We're scooping out the water and throwing it into the stormwater drain that's out the front of our place, or down a little bit. And some guy I'd never met before, a few houses down, came over and goes, oh, you need a pump. And he rushed off to go get a pump, came back half an hour later. We paid for it later, but I mean, how's the trust, right? It was $250 pump, and set that up for us. And mate, seriously, we had every man and their dog in our street helping to bail us out so that we didn't go into water.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah, and right now, as we're recording this, there's floods in sort of New South Wales now, I guess is the main thing.
Mate, and tragically, you know, I think last time I heard, and I don't watch the news that much, I think 6 people had died in Queensland and a few people had died in New South Wales. The old saying is, if it's flooded, forget it. So anyway, Steve,
that's it.
I just, normally we don't sort of banter too much in terms of what's going on, but it's been such a fascinating couple of weeks for us. But I really wanted to talk about this project because, or this podcast, because I'm really interested, because I was working in the industry when some of this news broke, and some of them are more controversial than others. One of the supplements I'm going to talk about now, I'm going off memory because it looks like it's been scrubbed off the internet, which is interesting because, I mean, and that can happen. You can find PR firms and all the rest of it which can scrub for you. There's companies, before I heard of a fireman one time, and he got some really bad press. He threw a Jaffa at a kid But no, the kid threw a Jaffa at him, hit him in the back of the head. You know what a Jaffa, for our American friends, a Jaffa is it's a hard-shelled lolly filled with chocolate. And I remember in New Zealand where I grew up, Jaffas and snifters. Did you ever hear of a snifter?
Never heard of a snifter.
Snifter? We have
snifter?
snifters in New Zealand. Yeah, it's not the sort of clubs that you guys go to, right?
No, that's different.
They were, well, Jaffas were sort of about that big. And for people that are listening on the podcast, probably about the size of a bit bigger than a 5 cent piece.
Yeah.
Like the old 1 cent coins. Do you remember those? Like
yes,
a penny for our American friends. And you'd peg them in that hurt. Snifters were about 2.5 times the size. Ooh. And they were shaped like a football, and they were green, and they had a much harder shell. And if you got pegged with a Jaffa, it would hurt. But if you got hit with a snifter, it could just about knock you off your freaking feet.
Still can't get over the word snifter.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine going to shop there. Can I have a few snifters?
Oh, yeah. Well, the stores you go to, Steve, I reckon.
That's kind of different.
Hey?
It's different.
Yeah. Oh, that's behind the black curtain. Yeah.
Snifters.
Anyway, so Steve, they scrubbed the internet of that story. But look, you've done all the research. I'm just going to go off memory.
Yeah.
And I will put some caveats in for the people that are listening as well too, because my memory surprisingly is fallible.
Yeah.
But in the art of storytelling, I'll try to do my best to recount as much detail as possible. And look, again, we're happy to, as Project Veritas says, do the old retracto if we need to.
Yeah.
We're going to mention some names of companies that I don't believe are in, because I don't want to cause embarrassment, because I appreciate, some companies have done the wrong things, and those ones we're going to name and shame, and some of them have gone out of business. Yeah. Some are still in business, which surprises me. And again, might be under new management, maybe they've cleaned it up, maybe, who knows, right? But anyway.
Yeah.
Steve, I'll let you kick this off. So we're talking about supplements that kill, scam merchants. Snake oil, apparently it comes from Chinese in the 18th century would sell the Chinese water snake, and they'd use the oil and harvest the organs or what have you to actually create a remedy. Now, I remember snake oil merchants. I always thought of the American grifters that would go from town to town, standing on the back of their wagon going, roll up, here you go, this will cure everything, right? But the term snake oil merchant typically refers to somebody who uses marketing and tricks to fool people into purchasing products that are normally most of the time useless, but sometimes could be harmful. But Steve, where do we want to start? Because the granddaddy of them all that I think of is probably the old OxyElite Pro.
Oh, that was the first one off the cab.
Is that where you want to start?
Yeah, well, it's got the page up. I've got some great claims for you later, though. You think snake oil claims, I've got some better ones.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And, anyway, but OxyElite Pro, but basically, when people are trying to lose weight, there's a problem because they want it to happen faster. They want it gone.
Yep.
And we know traditionally, even to this very day, people are using lipo or tummy tuck or sleeve or all sorts of surgeries and drugs. They use amphetamines.
Yep.
And
we haven't Doug on the show, which is
Excellent.
So he sort of works in cosmetic industry, so he'll be able to tell some stuff. So look, and again, I'm not a huge fan of severe intervention surgery, but look, a little nip and tuck doesn't hurt anyone, Steve.
It doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, it depends on what level you want to go to. Like some people just say, I'll just try and eat less, or I'll cut out on those sweets, and that's great. Mm-hmm. And then you go to the other extreme where you're doing, gastric sleeve surgery, tummy tuck operation. So people are on this scale. Yeah. People who want to lose weight. Now, it's not unreasonable for someone to take a supplement to help with weight loss, is it?
Look, it's one of the largest industries in the world.
Yeah.
And look, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And one of the things I always like to say with these sorts of things, I believe heavily in supplementation, love the science behind some of it. But I think it's time, as we say, time to look up the skirt of the industry. We pick on Big Pharma a lot. Well, now it's time to have a bit of a crack at the supplement companies out there. Because, if we're going to do it both ways, Steve, we've got to be fair, right?
You have to. Now, there's no better place to look good than in Hawaii, right?
Of course.
You want to look good in a bikini, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
I do.
Of course, Steve. Hey,
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
So anyway, look, there is a supplement that was released it's mainly happening in Hawaii. So that's where
I used to sell the supplement. So
did you?
Yeah, well, now I did sell OxyElite Pro.
Yep.
I did not get the batch that was associated with this.
Yes.
But the product was eventually banned. But Steve, long story short, now what was the name of the company? OxyElite Pro was the name of the product.
Yep. The company...
USP Labs.
That's it. That was the original one, and it was sold through GNC, which is Good Nutrition Centers.
And this is in the States.
In the States, yeah. Now, just to this product is no longer for sale.
No.
But they sold it, and in just Hawaii alone, in a certain area, and they cased it down to 29 cases of acute hepatitis.
How many died?
1 died,
Yep.
and 2 needed liver transplants, or
Yep.
they would have died.
Yep.
So this is pretty bad, and this is just a supplement to help you lose weight.
Yeah.
I know people are going to say, look, paracetamol does vastly worse things to your liver.
Sure.
And overdoses, I mean.
But I think, Steve, there are warnings on the label.
Yep.
I think people, I shouldn't say it's well known, but I think it's medically understood.
Yep.
And is the relief better than the cause? I mean, I've taken Panadol before and I haven't died, right? So it comes down to abuse and all the rest of it. This is slightly different.
No, this is very slightly different.
This has been marketed as a product that's going to help you, and people have taken unwittingly.
Yep.
Thinking they're going to improve their health, but ended up 2 liver transplants and 1 death.
Yep, and the person who died was 48, so they're young.
Wow.
You know, because I'm older than that, so they're young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't like someone in their
You're 10
80s
times older than that, Steve.
that died, you know, could have been this. It was really put down to this. And the 29 cases of acute hepatitis was put down to this. And you know, it's...
How many of those? So 29 hospitalised?
Yeah, the hospitalised with acute hepatitis.
Yeah.
Now
I remember, I think, and again, this will test my memory, and this might give me some credibility or blow it out of the water for what I'm trying to remember later on.
Yeah.
My understanding is that it was one ingredient that they got from China, which was not the correct, it was mislabeled.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It was. And the supplement that was linked to that they blamed it on was DMAA, which we've all heard of before, haven't we? It's a stimulant.
Okay. So is this where the DMAA ban came from? Because back in the day, and look, I used to sell a crap ton of this stuff. In fact, the company had a really good pre-workout called Jack 3D.
Yeah.
And Jack 3D was this little tub. It was a real nootropic. You'd take it. And they said that DMAA was based on geranium stem. Now, that's a load of bullcrap. It wasn't. They just kind of used that so that they could say it was a natural supplement. And this is the thing that pisses me off, because then legislators and lawmakers go, all supplements are evil and going to kill you. Well, again, you need to have a look in your backyard. But having said that, I think in terms of this is the poster child, I guess, that creates legislation and throws everything out and goes, right, they're all bad because of one bad egg.
Yeah, exactly. And what they did was the health this is the thing that I'm amazed about. And I'll read this to you. The announcement comes shortly after the Hawaii Department of Health requested the voluntary removal of OxyElite Pro from the Hawaii retailers.
And the funny thing is that, look, I love the United States because, I mean, it's the land of the free, and you've got guns and, you know, all that sort of stuff, right? And they've got the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, which is excellent because, I mean, it's relatively black and white, and you can... Yeah, when I heard that, because I actually watched a documentary on it probably about 4 or 5 years ago, the response from the health officials was definitely inadequate. And again, like as I said, I'm all for free market and all the rest of it, but this was terrible. This needed immediate recall, and this needed, like in Australia, you sneeze, you get your product recalled. You can, right? And they have a lot of parent legislation, and I guess that's a good thing when you've got really serious stuff like this happen, right?
Very much so.
But that was a very inept and weak response from their health department.
Incredibly weak. Now, of course,
was it part of the FDA, or was it
that was
else?
the Hawaii Department of Health?
Right. So, because I said the FDA's got a lot of teeth. Normally, if it had gone to them, or if they had been in charge, that probably would have taken a different turn. But obviously, the Department of Health was in control. Yeah,
and you got to remember that most things or supplements or drugs have side effects, and the side effects are graded compared to what the use is. For example, if you take cisplastin, which is an anti-carcinogenic agent, that has got horrendous side effects, destroys the immune system, your gut destroys, hair falls out, everything, and it's kind of like balanced to the benefit of it.
That's right. You're going to if you don't take it, chances of death are 100%.
Exactly.
If you do take it, you may live.
It's a great drug for lymphomas and all these sort of other blood-borne cancers, and terrific for that. But for a supplement that may help you lose weight, you know, you have to have a bit of a threshold for that. Not liver failure is not one of them. Now, liver failure is caused by, as we mentioned, paracetamol. But if you take no more than 4 grams a day of paracetamol, chances are very low you're going to have any liver problems. But you know, we see a lot of liver problems with paracetamol because people try to commit suicide by taking a pack of 24, and they get acute liver failure, which is not That's
not a good way to go.
No. Now the reason why OxyElite Pro was so good is because it actually worked. I know I'm gonna sort of contradict myself.
No, it was. And look, it was a very sought after supplement.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'm not sure what the truth is. My understanding is that the company was honourable and doing the right thing.
Yep.
I think that the company that they purchased the product for, I don't even know if they did the wrong thing. I think the product may have just been mislabeled or incorrectly labeled, and I think that's what it was.
And later, I've got another example of that actual exact case, but that's for another supplement.
Yep.
But interestingly, the DMAA, which is dimethyl amylamine, which is a synthetic chemical.
I love it. I did love it. It was bloody awesome.
I've taken it. Yeah. It's great.
It's kind of like a natural drug.
Fine.
It's a synthetic actually, but it kind of gives you a high.
It does.
Yeah.
And so if you're let's say you're not the most motivated person on the earth to go out and exercise, but if you take this, you feel like exercising, don't you?
Well, it's funny because I guess after this happened, I remember I was selling crap tons of this stuff when I had the retail store, right? I mean, like I was literally selling pallets and pallets of this stuff because people loved it. They took. No one ever had any negative side effects from it. And look, this is probably before I really got into my natural bent, because again, and I probably did believe at the beginning, it's from geranium stem because people want to believe sweet little lies. You know what I mean? Steve, whisper sweet little lies in my ear, and it's like, okay, I'm yours.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But I think in terms of when you look into it, that geranium stem, it was a lie. There was no actual DMAA coming from geranium stem, or at least that could be synthesized into an effective dose so that people could take this and kind of get a high out of it.
Yeah.
The equivalent today, the nearest that we've been able to find is English walnut, which seems to have, but much less potent. I mean, like DMAA was like literally you were tripping. Whereas English walnut gives you a nice little uplift, but it's not on that level. No, and that was that. I mean, that used to just and it used to burn quite a bit of fat. So
and the company says the original version with DMAA has not been manufactured or distributed since early 2013.
Yep.
So whatever's going on now, it doesn't have that in it.
No.
And so, but look, as I said, it did work.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, look, and as I said, I'm not even sure if USP labs are still working. I not normally mention competitors for our American friends, but they're always a good brand and I think always reputable. So,
it's fine. And you said you sold tons of it.
Yeah.
Now, you had one supplement store in a town called Brisbane, which is not the biggest place on the planet.
It's actually a city, Steve.
City? Oh, okay. It's got a million or something people.
I think 1 million in Brisbane. I think 3.5 million in southeast Queensland.
Yeah.
Sort of,
So it's not like a major chain that sold, but you sold so many of them. Imagine that amplified throughout the country.
Yeah.
And there wasn't that much, it was just a few people that may have had issues with it.
Yeah. I mean, death is permanent weight loss, Steve. Let's face it. I mean, like that. Yeah. And that's tragic for the person that ended up dying.
Yeah.
I thought there was suspicious of up to 5 deaths, Steve, but that again may have been overblown. And this is the problem is that it's sometimes difficult through rumor innuendo, especially when the media gets involved because they overhype things, right? To actually determine what the truth is.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we know definitely one person confirmed dead, which is a tragedy for that person. And unfortunate again, because as far as I'm concerned with this, I don't think the company had done the wrong thing. I don't even think the company that had supplied the product did the wrong thing.
No.
But this is where we, Steve, largely don't rely on what they call a certificate of analysis. We have a testing regime where we actually regularly test on a cycle all of the products that come in so that we can actually determine what the C of A says versus what the actual product is.
Yeah.
So we test for fingerprints as well too, so that we can actually, and we use plant sciences and all the rest of it to actually look at the peaks to make sure that it measures. We normally do that so that we don't get bait and switched.
Exactly.
Here's a product that you're paying, $500 per kilo for, and they sneak in one that's worth $20 a kilo, right?
Well, I don't know how much we can talk about this, but we know of an example that we recently went through, tested a raw material, and it showed to be something totally different. We couldn't use it.
Bait and switch. Oh yeah, $80,000. We got stung, and this is the problem, right? Is that you get done from time to time. So shocking. Anyway, so Steve, time for an ad.
Yes.
These ads are, I appreciate most people, I'm not an ad.
Yeah.
Because I always fast forward the ads. Don't fast forward it.
We've rehearsed heavily for this ad.
But
Gut right.
Gut right.
Gut right.
Now, what can we say about gut right?
Wow.
Buy
It's
it.
full of polyphenols.
Are we allowed to say that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Again, Steve, we've got to be very careful what we say.
It's got a lot of all natural, derived from foods.
Yes.
Can we say that?
Yep. And it's designed for gut health.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Lots of good stuff.
And again, found in nature.
Yep.
There's so, I mean, we always say as well too, Steve, that the father of modern medicine said that, health starts in the gut.
It does.
And I think, not enough people are looking after their gut. And it's something that Steve, we believe in. So if, maybe that might be a supplement that you could consider for your gut health.
And your gut health, all the microbes in your gut, you've got more microbes in your gut than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy.
So start with gut right. Oh, hang on. Hang on, let me put my glasses on. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Hang on.
Wow.
So modbiotic formula, rich in polyphenols.
Terrific. All natural ingredients.
It's friendly for the whole family to use, Steve.
And it's super high in fiber.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Do you remember the song?
Which one?
Gut Right Baby.
Oh, yes.
Gut.
Dum, 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 dum.
I don't think you're allowed to do that.
Oh.
But you know what? Come at us. I mean, what's Freddie going to do? He's dead.
Yes, just passed away.
Yeah. So, I mean, myself personally is that I always look at it this way, Steve. I always believe in everything that I do that nature knows best.
Yeah.
Now, I think you can short circuit things. It's like the same as using gear, right? Definitely works, but then you've got the piper to pay. Whereas you might not get quite as fast results or quite as pronounced results, but using natural supplements typically has a benefit for your body as well too. Antioxidant support, gut health support. It works with the body rather than creating a chemical straitjacket. And I think this is where at ATP we've always challenged ourselves to find the best ingredients in nature that we can possibly find, and then produce something that's going to work without doing any harm. Because I mean, the philosophy is yourself and the founders and all the rest of it was first do no harm, which is the code for naturopaths, right?
Correct, absolutely.
So therefore we juxtaposition that with getting the ultimate result. And so long as we don't destroy the first law of robotics.
Correct.
Do not kill humans.
Yeah, that's
then we're fine.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Now I'll take another direction now where a company has a product out and it's still for sale now, and I won't mention it.
Okay, don't mention the name of the company.
But the claims that they made,
DM me. I'll tell you. No. No, isn't that what they say? It's like, okay.
It's and they're in trouble for making some slightly exaggerated claims.
Oh,
you ready for this one?
How many? How many companies have? I mean, this is the problem, right? I mean, like, we always laugh because someone jaywalks and they get pinged, and then another person's going down the road on their motorcycle with their hair on fire without a helmet at 160 Ks in a 20 zone. It's like, and they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
But you jaywalked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, this has been claimed to be, quote, and I'll quote the saying, the healthiest energy drink. Now that's okay. Now that's nothing compared to their.
Is that like Coke's statement about how they really want to hydrate the world? That's their mission statement.
Correct, and it's not Coke, so we're not.
No, it's definitely not.
No.
Our Lord and Masters.
This is, and I'll just read a claim made: nothing short of a miracle drink that delivers benefits and cures that have evaded scientists for decades.
Holy cow!
Now there's claims like. It may help you.
And just in 2003, I got in trouble, and rightly so, because again I was young and I didn't know what I was doing. But I had a coenzyme Q10, and I lifted an article that they had, and I put that information on the website. That spoke about it's the closest thing to a miracle ingredient. Now, this was a doctor who was looking at it, the benefits of coenzyme Q10, right? Yeah. And I put that up and I got in trouble, and rightly so, because you can't say that. Like, there's sort of inflammatory words. In 2022, the fact that I mean, I don't care if you live in the States. I mean, freedom of speech is great, but you've got to be able to back it up.
Exactly.
And if you can't, that's bullcrap, that is.
It does. Now, it gets a little bit worse too.
How can it get worse than that?
Oh, wait. Now, you got to remember this.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. It also has been... they're in trouble for this one.
Yeah.
It, quote, this energy drink has been associated with these sort of claims. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
Helps cure Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease, and other forms of dementia. Now, there's 3.
You're going to jail. I don't care where you live. You can't say that.
Well, that's
and not only that, I know which product you're talking about. I've met the owner.
All right.
Holy cow. He is off his chops and he's not on his own drink.
I can tell you.
I mean, he's actually a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He's cringeworthy, but I mean, like a nice guy.
Yeah.
But holy snapping turtles. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, that's just crazy talk right there. Maybe that's his defense.
Yes.
Maybe, like, if he says, well, if Red Bull can give you wings, which I think they got in trouble for, maybe they're like, well, I can say this and nobody's going to take me seriously.
Well, it was also claimed that these claims were, quote, based on exclusively on a previous stint as a high school science teacher. You think I'm joking, don't you? This is in the lawsuit.
Oh, my gosh. Steve. Well, I mean, wow. What do you say about that?
Yeah, but no, he actually justifies this by saying,
you know, I've gone into a hospital before, so therefore I'm able to do surgery.
Well, why not? It also is claimed by the defendant, by the company, that, quote, at one time I taught 6 different science disciplines in a high school, I won't mention the name, providing my highly versatile command of science.
Well,
Humbly speaking,
it's not Dr. Fauci,
I am by far the most innovative and prolific scientist in the history of sports nutrition and performance-enhancing beverages.
I love this guy.
I love it.
He's like Planet Delusion.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, he's just seriously just having a quack, right?
Wow. I can't speak to his mental health because that's kind of a bit.
But that's the grey area. So that's, if I had a defense attorney, I'd go, clearly these are delusional statements. So clearly my client is innocent, Your Honour, by guilty of mental incapacitation.
I know, it's crazy.
No, it's a great defence. This guy's a genius.
It's really.
This guy is a freaking genius, Steve.
Now this product.
You know what? I'm going to come to work with a cape, and everyone can kiss my ring.
Yep.
And call me Lord Poobah.
Yes.
All right. So therefore, I can't get in trouble for anything.
We're kissing your ring, are we?
You certainly will, and you'll like it.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, and
yeah.
do the whole.
Now, this product also has, and I'm skipping over. I'll get back to some of the. It's got 300 milligrams of caffeine per can of drink.
No, you know, the funny thing is that I looked into this company and I saw the study showing that the amount of caffeine was from, I think, like 500 something milligrams per can down to one that had 30.
Yeah, correct.
All over the shop.
One had 31. It was all.
Yeah. Is that? How good is my memory?
Yeah, that was a good memory.
Yeah. I think the other one, if I remember correctly, I think one of them had like 460 or 470 milligrams of caffeine. So, I mean, like, there's no consistency.
No.
You didn't know if you were going to get, you know, too little or too much.
Well, unfortunately, neither did Florida middle school students when they shared a can of an earlier one of their products, and they ended up in hospital with tachycardia or rapid heartbeat.
Whoa.
So that's
a 500 ml can.
Yeah. And
they shared it.
Yeah.
And how old were the students?
Middle school students.
What's that? So that's like like 11, 12 to what? What's middle school? That's like grade 6 to grade 8.
The Americans will know
so
this.
Yeah, middle school. We're starting to kind of do it here as well too. So that's like somewhere between like 11 and 13, I guess.
Now,
what are they doing drinking caffeine anyway?
Well, I mean, they've got no limitations. Remember, you can get this from a supermarket or from a petrol station I've seen, or a gas station.
Mind you, to cause tachycardia, Steve, what would be the estimate? Did they actually test the can? Because it's probably drank it all.
They drank it all.
What would be your estimation to cause tachycardia?
In that age group, 0.5 gram.
So 500 milligrams of caffeine. So there was probably 1,000 milligrams potentially.
As we have said with the lab analysis, they're all over the place.
Yeah, they were.
Now, what scares me is it's not unusual for a kid who's, say, 14, playing basketball out all day at lunchtime for an hour, has 2 cans of drinks.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be beyond the realm over the next hour, would it?
Well, in Australia, the legislation states, I'm pretty sure, not sure, don't hold me to this, that anything above 600 milligrams is considered to be toxic.
Yeah.
Which Steve, I think for a grown adult, we actually think that's probably a bit light. But hey, I mean, like, honestly,
Very
600
outside.
milligrams is pretty hot. For some people that are sensitive, that probably is going to cause maybe at least some palpitations, maybe not tachycardia.
I checked an Australian drink, not this drink, and they had 150 milligrams of an energy drink.
Look.
And if you had 2 of those, you'd be feeling it.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, let's face it. I think most, I think anything up to 500 milligrams of caffeine is fine, depending obviously on what you're doing. But again, so long as you declare it. And so long as there's consistency.
Correct.
The last thing that you want is 1,000 milligrams of caffeine ending up in your can, especially when you've got little tackers getting tachycardia.
It's
You're welcome.
tachycardia. But I'll tell you what, it'll help you. But the thing is, there's more to this product than meets the eye. It also contains branched chain amino acids.
Okay.
But very low dosages, like 30 to 40 milligrams.
Yep. But this is the pixie dust sprinkling about putting it on the can. And look, the average punter doesn't know.
Correct.
Steve. I mean, people that listen to this podcast are highly intelligent.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some of the most intelligent people in the world. So they would know, is that pandering to your audience?
Yeah, I know it is, isn't it?
I'm just going to wear a panda suit next week. But I think in terms of, people that are in the know, okay, how much am I looking for there? Like that's got like literally pixie dust spread.
Correct.
Right?
Now it gets a little bit worse because they also have a type of creatine.
And this is
in
something,
liquid.
and this lends me to another company we're going to talk to next, right? And again, I'm going off memory, but my memory's not too bad, so we'll see. But this is a big bugbear for me.
Yeah.
Now, I cannot believe, and when I saw this originally, as I said, I met the owner, and as I said, lovely guy. And I understand marketing and perception is probably more important than reality.
Yeah.
But I've got a huge, huge problem with creatine being put into a liquid solution. And this goes back to, I think, 2006 when there was another company here in Australia, and I'll talk about that later. And back then, so we're talking back in the mid-2000s, as a dumb guy who didn't know a lot, well, actually I was learning a bit, I knew that was wrong back then. No, this is over a decade later, Steve, and you've got a major company putting it into their product because creatine and water, and I'm not sure how long it takes, but within a matter of hours turns into creatinine. Now, creatinine is toxic, specifically for the kidneys, and can cause severe discomfort, if not
renal failure, if it's high enough. Now, you got to remember, when you go to your doc to get your blood test for your kidneys, they measure things like glomerular filtration rate, GFR, which should be about 70, above 70 to 90. But they also measure creatinine because that's a toxin that builds up the body if your kidneys aren't working.
Yep.
So if you get your creatine monohydrate and you put it in water for 24 hours, that's way longer. You will be drinking creatinine.
I had a feeling it was about 6 hours or something, Steve.
Yeah, I know. It's not long. And I mean, and think now, you know about manufacturing.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you made these cans of drinks, you put any form of creatine in there. Yeah. It breaks down. They claim it's stable. They got no evidence for that.
Well, I was going to say, show me the evidence, because if you can't back that up, but great. If someone comes up with a creatine that's stable in water, I'll be the first to buy it.
As long as there's evidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And but at this point in time, where we are, and science absolutely evolves and things. Yeah. But right now, as of what are we? March 2022. I do not believe, and again, happy to do a retracto. That there is not a creatine that is stable of any sort, whether it's monohydrate, whether it's ethyl ester, whatever. There is none.
No, it isn't, because it's also in there and this is probably a good thing, but it's also in there at a very low dose, because when you read ingredients on a food, it goes from the most carbonated water in this case down to, and it comes after magnesium chloride.
So you're talking milligrams. And I guess what's interesting is, from a legal point of view, if it's in there, then he probably can't technically get sued for it not being in the product.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tricky one. And so...
No, he's just full of crap.
Yeah, it's not enough to make any difference. Now...
no, but I mean, as you're saying, the good news is it's not enough to make you sick.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a little bit crazy. Now, Another little bugbear of mine is that the way that they sweeten these drinks.
Yeah, we've done a podcast on sweetness before, Steve, and it's interesting because more and more information is coming out. I guess from people that are listening to this podcast we believe that nature knows best. Yeah. Where possible, try and use natural colours, natural flavours, natural sweeteners, all that sort of stuff. This is another reason why we use natural sweeteners. And again, not everybody likes that. I mean, and some people love non-nutritive synthetic sweeteners. Like, fine, great, go ahead and use them. But for those that want to know, Steve, give us the breakdown.
And these are recent papers, and I'll just go through them because they each tell a little bit of a story. But basically, and I'll read the title because this sort of says it all. And this is published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. It says, sucralose decreases insulin sensitivity in healthy subjects, a randomized control trial.
Insulin sensitivity being pivotal for fat loss.
Yeah, and health overall.
Yeah.
You got to remember, and I know a lot of people...
That's secondary, Steve.
Yeah, of course, secondary. So insulin works by knocking on the door of the cell and opening up the door to let glucose in. That's really simple. And what it does is it activates the receptors on the cell to second messenger through to glucose 2 or glucose 4 transporters, depending on if it's the liver or the muscle. If it's the muscle, it's glucose 4, and it comes up and engulfs the glucose, puts it in there. Yep. Now, what this does, sucralose, is that it causes insulin not to knock loud enough.
Right.
So the body goes, well, how am I going to get rid of all this sugar? It pumps out more insulin. Now, that's a problem.
Sugar sickness, Steve.
Exactly. Because insulin resistance to the extreme is type 2 diabetes.
Yep.
Now, unfortunately, a lot of people who are on type 2 diabetes use artificial sweeteners. Yeah. So
you're reinforcing the problem.
Correct.
So you're better off using non-nutritive, natural things like thaumatin. And again, like the calorie count is so low, it's almost insignificant. You can use stevia, you can use monk fruit, you can use erythritol. In fact, any of the tols like, sorbitol, maltitol.
Yep.
Now, I don't like maltitol and sorbitol because I think they have a significant impact on the gut. Erythritol is still a sugar alcohol, but it's actually from grapes and it's actually processed a lot more differently than the other tols.
It is.
Sorbitol and maltitol, I hate them, but
maltitol,
yeah, they're gross. I mean, you have too much of that and you're getting a really bad laxative effect.
Very bad.
And not only that, the long-term distress to the gut as well too. If you're using it all the time, a little bit, fine. Yeah. But there's a big difference between, anyway, we could get off track. But
I've got a scary statement. There's an acceptable daily intake for sucralose, okay?
Right. So, sucralose has got a chlorine molecule added to it.
3 chlorines to, if you take sucrose, which is table sugar, which is 2 glucose joined together basically, and you remove 3 hydrogens to put 3 chlorines on one end of it, it makes the molecule what we call polar. Yeah. So it's got a positive end and a negative end, so it sticks to things a lot better. So it sticks to your sweet receptors.
To your tongue,
Really strong, 600 times stronger than sugar. So you get this massive brain message that, oh my God, that's sweet. So you only need to use a milligram dosage of this. Now, in this trial, they say, well, how much sucralose was used? They only used 15% of the acceptable daily intake.
Okay, so
14 days.
well under.
Oh, yeah. So, if the acceptable one is around 100, I think it is, you could use 15 milligrams and you still get that insulin resistance effect. So it's not like, I'll just have one can. Look, don't get me wrong. If you've got very sensitive insulin and you're quite fit and healthy and you have a drink every day of this stuff, that's fine. But if you're trying to lose weight, or you're on a supplement where you're taking it every day and this stuff tastes really, really sweet and there's no sugar in it, it's likely to have, if you read the label, it'll say sucralose or Splenda.
The natural ones are quite expensive. The non-natural ones aren't. And look, what would be good as well too, Steve, to have a look at the natural versus the non-natural, non-nutritive sweetness, and actually compare them in terms of, because we did one a while ago where we were actually talking about some of the carcinogenic effects of some of them as well too, right? Aspartame and a few of the others, ACE-K.
Asulfamide potassium.
Yeah, I can never say the full name, right? But like they've got some quite bad effects. And we always considered, and I think we even said in the podcast, if you guys want to listen up and have a listen to it, that sucralose wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't.
But we still found out that it had a significant impact on the brain function as well, too, Steve.
Absolutely, and the gut.
Yeah.
Because it's not absorbed very well.
No.
And so
that's the thing, right? It's like throwing, and I think this is the terminology, gosh, we're going back a couple of years ago. It's like throwing a wrench into the machine. Non-nutritive natural sweeteners typically are used, like thaumatin is just an amino acid.
It is,
So the body can actually utilize it and process it. Yes, it hits the tongue, the receptors, but then is actually digested and metabolized. And that's the thing. If something's not being metabolized, then it's literally like a wrench through a machine. It doesn't go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the percentage change in insulin sensitivity was lost by 17%.
Wow.
Now, that's significant. 17.7.
Now, for guys that are training heavy with lots of muscle, obviously they're sort of forcing things in, because there's actually, when you train, you're opening the door, you're stopping that door from being sticky as well too. But for people that, and so that's where you hear that argument come back. Oh, well, I've used sucralose for years. I've used, artificial sweeteners for years, and it hasn't had any problem.
Correct.
You're still putting headwinds.
Exactly.
But specifically for people that aren't as weight-bearing in their exercise or don't have a lot of muscle mass, if you are overweight and you've got fat and you've got a dispensation to have, high blood sugar levels and or heading towards, diabetes, you should avoid sucralose and other non-nutritive artificial and synthetic sweeteners, but specifically sucralose. You should avoid that like the plague.
Well, again, this study is very damning on it, but it's not the only one. There's a few, and another randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial published in Nutrition 2018 basically showed that it does drive and ramp up the secretion of insulin.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a bad one too. It does it by GLP-1, which is a glucagon-like peptide 1, which drives insulin release. So that's a problem, because if you stimulate insulin release, then you're going to have dysregulation of blood sugar levels.
Yeah.
You could have high or low. But if insulin resistance occurs, you're going to have too much insulin around, you're struggling to burn fat.
Yep.
So if you're taking this magic pre-workout powder or pre-workout drink, which is like sort of one we talked about before, then you're going to struggle in your gym session, because you're going to be insulin resistant.
Yeah.
And you're not going to burn the fat. You're not going to get the results out of your gym session.
Natural sweeteners work slightly differently, though, Steve.
Very different.
Yeah.
And Thermatin doesn't have this effect.
Thornton does not. So one of the things I want to say, and a simple test that you can do, if you just want to determine if you've got too much sugar in your bloodstream, just have a little sample of your whiz, just a little taste. See?
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That's how doctors used to do it back in the old day.
The Indians used to pee on ants' nests and see if the ants were attracted to their pee.
Oh, well, that's probably far better.
Tastier.
Yeah, I mean, forget what I said. Apparently there are supplements out there calling themselves golden showers and all the rest of it, Steve. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe people have got a penchant. Do you like that word? Maybe people have got a penchant for it. I mean, there's some strange things out there. I mean, the circles you move in, they're into that sort of stuff.
Very strange people. Yeah. I don't know if they drink their own pee, though. But anyway,
So was it golden shower and the brown log? I forget what it is. What do you...
Oh, goodness me.
I know, right?
It's scary.
It is.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you've got sugar in your pee, you're very diabetic.
Yeah.
You're really.
But in all seriousness, that's how they used to test for it. As the doctors would come over and
now they've got.
I would have used the other finger. I would have gone,
Oh yeah. You just that one.
Oh yeah. You're terrible. Yeah, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened back then. You just died.
You died up until 1920, when insulin was even in 1920 they started synthesizing it from animals.
Right.
So they gave it to this child, insulin, when it came out, and he lived through his type 1 diabetes for a while, and then they ran out of insulin, and then the kid died. Because they couldn't make enough. You have to kill pigs and squeeze their pancreases. Now it's made sense. Well, that's how they did it.
Huh.
Yeah,
a little squeeze on the pancreas.
But it's
between
like the
friends.
first penicillin case in 29. He recovered from his bacterial thing. They didn't give him a course long enough, and then he got the bacteria back and died.
It's just horrible.
Well, yeah.
I mean, approved science.
Yeah.
But, I mean, bugger for you, though. If you're the guy that...
Now, of course, insulin, you can make it in a lab, and it's, they're different types and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
But the problem with insulin is that it prioritizes glucose burning over fat burning.
Yeah.
So it's forcing sugar into your cells. So if you're, as I said, the average person out there who goes to the gym, wants to lose fat, they have a pre-workout drink that's full of sucralose, it drives up insulin resistance. They don't burn the fat.
Yep.
As much. So it's bad. Now, what they did, another test with this stuff is, of course, as we mentioned before, type 2 diabetics, often get artificial sweeteners because they don't want to have sugar.
Yeah.
So this is a 2020 study, and of course, unfortunately, it made them worse as well.
Right.
Now, the amount that they gave them was equivalent to 1 can of drink. So they gave them 1 can, which is 48 milligrams of sucralose, or 2 cans of drink equivalent per day. And they found that the chronic consumption of sucralose can affect insulin and glucose responses in healthy and non-insulin dependent diabetics. So it's not good. So it really is a little bit scary how this is, this is a very common in supplements. And I mean whey protein. It goes through the entire health field. If you look at it, anything you drink should be reading the label for sucralose. Yeah. So it's a little bit scary.
Let's do one on sweeteners.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't mind ranking them in terms of worst through to best.
Yeah.
Because as I said, Steve, sucralose used to be considered. I would have considered it back in the day, from what I'd learnt, probably one of the better of the synthetics.
Correct.
Obviously not anymore.
And it tastes good. I mean, this is only 2020 studies. So, and again, this doesn't mean that it's going to, kill you. That's not in that category. But will it drive insulin resistance? Yes. Even if you're healthy, yes. Type 2 diabetics, yes. So it's a problem pretty much for the general population. And the problem is that people are consuming this if they're having pre-workouts or whey proteins throughout the day. And most gym goers are doing one or the other.
And I guess some of the arguments that we'd have back from the fitness community that have used this stuff for years, I'm taking it, I'm getting lean. Yes, you might be taking 3 steps forward, but 1 step back.
Yeah.
So eliminate the 1 step back. Yes,
exactly.
We know that proteins are very important for driving the metabolism, building muscle tissue, increasing basal, and your resting metabolic rate and your active metabolic rate. But why take any step back at all?
Exactly.
Why not eliminate that and use a natural? And I appreciate it's way more expensive to use natural sweeteners. If you can, don't. But I mean, there's no fun in life if you don't have some sweetness in your life.
Of course, you've got it. Now, the other scary thing is that I was talking to the person who's recording this, Matt, just before about.
Don't like that guy. He's sitting over there.
And it's like, aren't they the tablet things you put in your sugar and coffee? Yes.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's you could be having your pre-workout, get to work, have your coffee with your sweetener in there. You could have a can of energy drink in the afternoon. So your sucralose has sort of infiltrated your diet without you really knowing it, without even having McDonald's, hamburgers. It's not associated with a bad food.
No.
That's the scary thing, because, you could be having your branched chain amino acids have it in there too. It's like anything that's considered healthy, you could be sneaking in your diet. So it's a bit of a scary one, that one.
Yeah.
And so that's a...
Well, as I like to say, Steve, go al natural.
Yeah.
Not to you, though. Seriously.
No.
Last time I said that to you turned up with nothing on.
What's wrong with that?
Well, everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, seriously. It's like,
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, Steve. What else we got?
You know how we caused the death before with OxyElite Pro?
Well, not us personally.
No.
Yes.
I've got one where 37 deaths have been attributed to.
Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
And here's the curveball. This supplement is essential, because without it, you'll die. Yeah, I know.
Oh, hang on.
I'm talking code. And if you're listening to this and confused, that's good, because that's where I want you to be.
I'm just trying to think. So 37 people have died from this. And over what period of time?
This was over about 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say maybe 60 years or something.
No.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
And it's something, and it's a supplement that or it's something that people have.
You are consuming it every single day.
Oh.
Every single day, and without it, you'll die. But if you have this as a supplement in the wrong circumstance, which we'll get to, which is everything.
Wait.
What?
I know.
You know?
Yeah, man. My brain is...
what letters does it start with?
T. Does it?
Or an L, depending on
L-Tryptophan.
Yes, L-Tryptophan.
Yes.
L-Tryptophan.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Ha!
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I remember this. This was, and again, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But this was manufactured in a Japanese facility.
Yes.
And they had a contamination, I believe, through the air conditioning, aircon vents.
Yep.
Where one of the, I think it was filters to do with some sort of bacteria or something, which got into the supplement. Australia then, 37 people died. Like tragic, right? Like just, mind you, can we put into, and to discuss how many people die from eating small goods every year? Like, salamis and stuff like that. Actually, Matt, that might be worthwhile having a look up. Because we get and look, don't get me wrong, 37 people dying, and if I remember correctly, I think it was like back in the, it would have been pre-2000s, I think in the 90s maybe it was 80s.
Late 80s.
Late 80s.
1989.
Yeah. So
I had a mullet back then.
I had a little fish. It was a goldfish. What was your mullet called?
Oh, geez, I'll tell you what, I never named it. But
Was it oily?
Gorgeous.
And you mean a hair mullet?
Hair mullet.
A Billy Ray Cyrus. It was
Billy
back
Ray
then.
Cyrus.
Did you? Oh,
looked like him.
Did you have like all business at the front, party at the back?
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what? They're making a comeback. You got a guy that plays on my son's basketball team.
Will it matter
Max.
if my ball patch shows? It still look good.
No, man. That's even classier.
Wow.
Yeah, especially like if you've got like a big bald patch and then like rat's tails at the back.
Yeah.
And I even like the shaved and then with the fringe.
Yes.
That's class.
And can you peroxide these curls too so they're all golden at the ends? It's just...
You know, how did women resist you, Steve? Well, they didn't, did they? that was in the midst of your... I don't know if we'd call it purple patch.
I was working as a chemist at that year, 89.
What, is that where you... Rehypnol.
Yeah.
No.
Industrial chemist. I was working in a lab.
Oh, yeah.
It was very boring. I was developing detergents. This was not a very exciting job.
Yeah, cousins, right?
Yeah. It wasn't making the newspapers, that job.
Yeah, it wasn't Breaking Bad. It was Breaking Good.
It was Breaking Good. I didn't. I mean, it's funny because that show Breaking Bad made chemists look so cool.
Sexy.
And it's not.
Yeah, no.
It's not.
No, you guys were nerds.
We just test detergent, every
What did you test them on? Did you test them on rabbits? Did you?
No, what I did was...
he's not answering the question.
No, we didn't test it on rabbits. Because it's detergent, you test it on people or clothes.
See, no one's got a problem with that.
No.
Yeah, so long as they were white-aged, middle-aged men.
You got to remember, right? I was a teenager when
test those bastards.
Don't
you touch that rabbit.
I did 1 year of full-time chemistry and then 4 years part-time to get my chemistry and physics degree. And the first year out when I was thinking, I was a teenager working in a lab. You know how dumb you had, a lot of the dumb things I did in that lab that had, they're like, testing. We used to, mate of mine, another teenager there, we used to put a drop of hydrochloric acid on our hands there and see which one held that there the longest. And then, you could burn yourself just to win, and then you try caustic soda. I did a few times.
Yeah, good on you.
Because I was just that slightly a bit stupider than he was.
Yeah.
But we used to get glycerine and put nitric acid with them, make trinitrotoluene and
Fantastic.
TNT.
Yeah, bomb.
Just bombs.
Yep.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it was great fun. But, unfortunately with chemicals, you can get contaminations.
Yes, and this is what happened, right? Yes. So 37 people died in the late 80s, and Australia banned tryptophan, and I believe that ban is still in place today. So this is a classic of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Now, in America, tryptophan, no problem at all. You get it in turkey, you get it in milk, but tryptophan is excellent for helping put you to sleep, helping you to get to sleep, I should say.
Of course it does.
But yeah, banned still in Australia because of that. But that was pretty big, Steve. So Japanese facility.
Yeah. Contamination.
And then death. And where did the deaths occur? Was it in Australia?
No, the deaths were overseas. Didn't say where.
It's strange that Australia should put a ban on tryptophan, which is still in place to this day. What's that, 32 years ago?
Yeah, and that's over 100 milligrams.
33 years ago.
So, it's not banned. It's S4. So
right,
prescription only.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing...
Well, that's kind of what I mean by ban. But yes, technically you're correct. Yeah.
It's on the poison schedule, which is not a good place to be. So eosinophilia myalgia syndrome, which was the disease that was linked to EMS.
Wow.
And that's when you get eosinophils, which are immune cells, in the muscle cells.
Wow.
And it caused a massive muscle pain.
Wow.
And eventually...
So painful death.
Painful death.
Oh.
Muscle breakdown, the cholecystokinin kinase breaks down, and you get the kidney failures.
Man, see, I want to go peacefully in my sleep when I'm 120. I
want to do like the bass player out of the Who. Remember how he died?
No.
It's you got to remember the Who were terrible. I mean, when it comes to drugs. Now, the drummer died at 32, Keith Moon.
Yeah. Did he choke on his own vomit?
No. You know how he died? He was a massive druggie, and this is not a secret.
Yeah.
And he actually went to a doctor to try and get off the drugs, and the doctor accidentally prescribed phenobarb or barbiturates. And so he overdosed on them.
Accidentally?
Well, I don't know why a doctor would prescribe one for dog. Doug, why would you prescribe a drug addict barbiturates? Because you got to remember, barbiturates were sleeping tablets and like the modern Valium, but if you have too many of them, you literally die. If you overdose on Valium nowadays, it's unlikely to cause death because it's GABAergic. But the barbiturates, because he's a classic druggie, at 32, he just swallowed, or 37 at least they found in his stomach, and he died. So he died of an overdose of a prescription drug.
37?
37 tablets. He was prescribed 50.
Well, the doctor can't really be... I mean, yes, the doctor should give it to him, but I mean, he didn't make him take 37.
No, he didn't. So
he committed suicide then?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But no, the bass player, old Thunderfingers, I've forgotten his name now. And that's his name, Thunderfingers, because he's bass player, talking about my generation. Anyway, he died with 3 women in Las Vegas of a cocaine overdose.
Wow.
Massive heart attack. Now that's how I want to die.
Good old Thunderfingers. Well, maybe just call yourself Thunder Thighs or something.
Thunder Thighs.
Thunder Sausage.
Yeah. He was.
That's what they know. That's what I'm known as.
Thunder Thighs. But he was the greatest bass player, one of the greatest bass players, and Keith Moon was one of the greatest drummers. Now, the Who are still around. Yeah. But only 2 original members. But,
it's sad.
It is sad, but that was that's how I want to die. But I don't want to die of this. I don't want to.
No, that sounds horrible.
This is a really bad one.
Not a way to die. No.
But you're right. It was a contamination, and you can go to Walmart's for those American people and get a gram tablet of it or powders of it.
But I mean, again, how many people have died from tryptophan poisoning or tryptophan since then? I mean, not that I know of. I don't. Maybe there is the odd case here and there. Yeah. Australia should remove it from the S4 category, I reckon.
Of course you should. I mean, you got to remember that if you have some turkey, as you said, or even whey protein, you're going to have you're going to have way more than 100, way more. Oh. Geez, that's great. But you're going to have about 300 to 400 milligrams in your normal whey supplement. Yep. And over 100 is an S4. So work that one out. It's one of the mysteries. But so it's you're going to be consuming over 2 or 3 grams of tryptophan a day anyway, because it's an essential amino acid. Yep. It makes serotonin in your brain and melatonin, so it's good. You need it. Yep. But as a supplement, it's still banned in Australia, which is a problem. All right, give me more, Steve. I want another beef, which is pretty much for everyone. Well, most supplements here is the chronic underdosing of supplements, and or overdosing, but usually it's underdosing. And
well, typically it's underdosing, which is where people have got problems with proprietary blends because they don't need to declare what's in there, and they put a pixie dust. But as again I've said before, just because they've said that it's on the label doesn't necessarily mean it's in the product. So they can have yes, we've got 500 milligrams, 500 milligrams, right? Yes, of course. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
so there could be nothing in there or just a smidgen in there, right? So,
or they claim, like I went to my local gym, it was a couple of days ago on the weekend, and I said, what's your most popular, and he just picked pre-workout, and I won't mention names, but he listed on the label 120 milligrams of alpha GPC. Now, we've talked about alpha GPC.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's very expensive. So the studies say you need 600 milligrams, to get a good nootropic effect. This had 120 milligrams in it.
At least they're putting on there what they actually put in it, Steve.
I know, but it's sort of like 5
And the thing
times.
is the reason why they might now is that if a company tested and found that it didn't actually have the right amount, they'd get sued.
Yeah.
Well, but
It's funny because the science says 600 and this says 120 on the label. So it's a little bit of a bugbear of mine where people are saying, oh, no, it's got alpha GPC in it, so I'm fine.
But, Steve, how many people know, and to be honest, off the top of my head, I couldn't remember if it was 300 or 600 of alpha GPC. So, for the layperson, they see the word and they're like, great, it's got it in there. Yeah. It's like, but it's not effective.
And that's one of my biggest bugbears.
In fact, it's not even half effective.
No, it's not. And so that's my biggest bugbear. And that was the most popular supplement. And one of the reasons they sold it, and on the front, it says contains alpha GPC, which is correct. But most people don't know the doses you require. Yeah. So, you have to watch out with all your supplements that you are getting the actual dose. And then, that's my first bugbear of those sorts of things. The other bugbear I've got is the form of the supplement.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned one there before that contains magnesium chloride in an oral form. Now, topically, magnesium chloride's okay.
Yeah.
But orally, it gets very poorly absorbed.
It goes through the skin. Okay, I'm going to drop that now.
Yeah.
Goes through the skin. Oh, okay. I'm done. I'm okay now. It's all right. I'll move on.
Well,
as Tony says, build a bridge. Get over it.
Build a bridge. Well, there's one thing I can't get over it is the use of magnesium, say, oxide.
Yep.
Now, I picked the largest, and I won't mention online, I won't mention whom they are, but it's their own proprietary blend, and I won't mention the website, and it contains
Are you going to mention the website?
I don't think I should I?
No, you should not.
No. It's got high-dose magnesium oxide in it.
Yeah.
Now, magnesium oxide is poorly absorbed and can cause diarrhea. So people are thinking they're getting magnesium because it's in the jar, but it doesn't mean it gets in the body.
Well, people don't know the binders or the carriers that they have, Steve, and they don't understand how they interact. Some can be very beneficial, some are benign, and some are hindrances. So, and again, whether they're topical or oral or for what purpose you're using it, can have an impact.
Now, this won't kill you like, the L-Tryptophan toxicity, but it's just not going to do you any good.
No.
It's not going to do you any good.
It's cheap as chips, magnesium oxide. That's why. And again, I think if you look at a lot of the time, supplements are designed to fool people because they create the catchwords and then they have either inferior amounts or inferior ingredients.
Yeah.
And that can make a massive difference.
I know. And it's like a mate of mine who makes lures. He said that lures. Yeah, fishing lures.
Oh, yeah.
And he said most lures are designed to catch people, not fish. And I went, well, that's clever. And I think this is what we're talking about in the supplement industry.
Yeah.
It's got magnesium in it.
Yeah.
And it's got 50 milligrams, which is all right. It's not like woohoo, but it's all right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not going to get absorbed. And you need it in your body, not in your gut, where it's going to cause loose stools. And even at that dose, luckily, it's too low to probably cause loose stools anyway.
Yeah.
So at best, it does nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
interesting.
It's like the creatine in water.
I'll go back to one of mine before, and we're talking about creatine in water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, a company, and I'm not going to mention their name because they're still going. So I thought they'd gone out of business, but there was a creatine serum sold in little red droppers, and it was back then. This is mid 2000s. I'm pretty sure that they were selling for like I think I saw it at $109. Right? It was insane, and I was looking at it going. So the average serve of creatine, just a standard serve, is 5 to 10 grams, depending on your body weight. If you want to load, it's 20 grams. And I'm going. So you're telling me I'm going to pay that for this liquid cherry flavored drop, right? And that's going to give me all the creatine. Oh yeah, it's far superior and all the rest of it. They ended up getting sued in the New Zealand High Court. I think they had to pay like $20,000 fine or something like that. And effectively, the judge, I am positive now, I can't find it because I had a look. And normally I don't. Normally I just rely purely on memory. But $20,000, and they were called snake oil, which is where we sort of mentioned snake oil before. Snake oil merchants. Creatine is not stable in water, full stop. No. And I know that we sort of mentioned that with regards to the other company, but it just don't believe it. It's not going to work. Again, at best, it's going to be either ineffective at best, or at worst, it's going to cause upset, gut upset, kidney upset, or strain. So yeah.
Now here's the other side of that coin. I saw the product online too, and it's got a dropper. Now a dropper has 1 to 2 mils. So let's be generous, say it's got 2 mils.
Okay.
Now let's be really, really generous and say all of that liquid or half of that liquid is creatine. All right, that's really generous.
And let's say it's stable.
Stable.
Well, there's a lot of ground we've just conceded.
A lot of conceded. Yeah. So you're going to get a full gram of creatine. Now you've mentioned correctly that you need about at least 5 grams a day. Now, how much are those bottles? $100 and something.
Well, it was ridiculous.
So you have to have 5 squirts.
Oh man, I mean, and
the bottle's about the size of. Well, it was tiny.
Yeah.
It was about, I'm going to say 2 to 3 inches tall.
2 to 3 inches quite well.
Yeah, I know 2 to 3 inches very well.
You can measure that extremely accurately, Steve. I think in terms of what disappoints me about that is that it just brings the whole industry into disrepute. And that's the thing that's so hard. When you've got legislators and lawmakers and public opinion and all the rest of it, it's just bad.
Yeah.
Because I love this industry. I absolutely love it. I love the science behind it. I love the tradition. I love, nature. I mean, even God bless the non-natural products that are out there that have actually taken the industry forward. And I mean that seriously. At the end of the day, there's something for everyone. And if it's done well and people are made aware of the upside and the downside, then they can choose for themselves what they want to take. But man, it pisses me off when people are lying through their teeth to make money at the expense of people and the industry. Because then everybody loses except for one jerk. And you know what? What you sow, you reap. It'll eventually come back to you as well too.
It's that what you showed me was horrific. Really, that's just a blatant ripoff. All that concessions we made. I mean, that's the most expensive way to consume creatine I've ever seen. If it's stable, which it's probably not.
Which is definitely not.
It's not that colour.
No, bright fluoro red.
Yeah, it was like, and I don't know what liquid carrier it was or what artificial this or, it's not pure. I mean, you can buy the stuff as a powder, and that's the pure, and it's stable. My
understanding is that the product had like a royal jelly or something in it. So people would, and this is where they get you, right? You got to have something, either it's got to taste amazing, the marketing has got to be like so incredible that you get a placebo effect from it because you convince yourself that it works, or you've got to get some sort of reaction. And my understanding is, and again, I'm testing my memory here, that they had royal jelly in it. So as you took it, it sort of opened up and it sort of gave you that sort of...
Because that's got therapeutic effects.
It does. It's actually quite good. Yeah. But you're not paying $109 for a little drop of Steve. So, yeah.
No, probably the only other bugbear, quickly, I know we're running out of time, but with supplements is that correlation doesn't mean causation is a scientific principle.
In other words,
if I drink a glass of water now and then drop dead of a heart attack, it wasn't a glass of water. It just was an association, not a causation.
Yeah.
And I got a personal experience where I gave someone a supplement once many years ago and they ended up in hospital. And it's like, that sounds bad, doesn't it? That sounds really bad. It was herbs.
Yep.
Okay. So they ended up in hospital and the doctor said, it must be the herbs that caused your liver, blah, 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 gallbladder and stuff up, or really bad. I was in hospital for 2 days, came out, and the gastroenterologist, that's the liver specialist, blamed the herbs.
Oh, of course. Anyway, natural medicine. Terrible.
She was given painkillers and sent home and see you later. A week later, she had the same attack. No herbs were taken. She had massive gallstones and had to have an emergency, gallbladder removal. So that's one of the things that like the tryptophan got banned because of a bad associate. This was recorded in the hospital as a bad reaction to herbs.
Of course. And nobody questions that. There's and there would have been no retracto.
No, because it's been diagnosed.
No, that's it. So therefore bad. Herbs bad.
Herbs are bad.
So so doctors go, herbs bad. And look, there is some quackery out there, and we're not saying that there's not, but there's quackery on both sides.
Correct.
Drugs can be great and drugs can be bad. Herbs can be great. Herbs can be bad. And again, when there's something is said to be something that it's not, that's when obviously you get the biggest problems. But Steve, just while we're wrapping up as well too, a couple of years back now, we had caffeine into the realm of bad, and legislation passed here in Australia around caffeine.
Yes.
And also... Steve, you can say the word from green tea,
epigallocatechin-gallate.
There you go. It's easy for you to say, right?
Yeah.
So
ECGC.
And all sorts of liver failure and all the rest of it.
I remember that.
Now, again, that was put on the record and unfortunately undermined public confidence in... Well, I'm not saying that you could probably undermine confidence in caffeine because it can be dangerous. And I think somebody took some that was mislabeled and passed away, which was tragic.
Mistook it, their pure caffeine powder for
glutamine or something. Was it whey protein? I can't remember the details.
Like that, but they took a 20 gram or a serve of whey. Now, 20 grams of whey protein is a normal serve of that. 20 grams of caffeine is fatal. There'd be no getting back from that one.
Again, and this is the problem about rumour and innuendo as well too within the industry. Someone else said no, he actually took it because he wanted to sort of have a bit of a fat burning, or it was, to get really amped or something.
Yeah.
Again, and the problem is at the end of the day, and the coroner's report's probably out now in terms of what actually happened. That was a tragedy that a young man left his life, and I actually agree. The fact that the caffeine shouldn't be, because my feeling is it was purchased online from a company.
Supply.
And then the label had come off, or it was put into another tub, or I forget. But anyway, that can cause problems. But caffeine's not bad. And I think overregulation, how can you say this? Sometimes things are going to happen, and you can't legislate your way out of bad stuff happening. You know what I mean? Like it could, because my understanding is you can still buy caffeine in bulk.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, no-dose, the classic thing. If you wanted to get some of that, you can get that from the supermarket. That's, I think, 100 or 150 milligram tablets.
Right.
And if you really wanted to ramp yourself
you could take 10.
Yeah. I mean,
but the thing is, Steve, you can go down the bleach aisle and drink bleach if you want to as well too, right? I mean, like the instructions are there. If people choose not to follow them, then it's on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't. I can get behind the wheel of a car and drive it at 100 kilometers an hour into a tree. Yeah. That's not how it's designed to work. And unfortunately, I have the choice to do that. Now, should we ban all cars? No. It's the same thing with this as well too. Sometimes things are made out to be a scapegoat, and they're made an easy target. And I don't know, for whatever reason, it looks like politicians are doing something about it. I don't know. Same thing with regards to the green tea as well too, right? Like that got labeled as toxic for the liver and all the. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
There's a photo of him with a scar where he had a liver operation or a liver transplant,
and he blamed it on a supplement, right?
Yeah. Because that's what they thought. Like in my case, they thought it was the herbs, but it was actually gallstones that was confirmed later. Now, I don't know.
Was there a Tracto print, Steve?
Not for me, there wasn't.
No, and that's the problem, right? So I think we have to be careful where we see, and as I said, at the end of the day, if it bleeds, it leads. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I think also maybe even a well-meaning doctor says, I think it's that herb that did it because we can't think of something else.
Sure.
And they could be right or they could be wrong.
Well, as you said, causation and correlation are two different things.
Very different things.
However, a lot of the time, I appreciate doctors don't have the luxury of time while their patient is sick, ill, or dying, and they're using their best judgment, which is what they're called to do. Yeah. So, again, I'm not even critical of that, but I am when the truth comes out later and it's not corrected, it's not made manifest, because that's what we need. We need the truth so that we can obviously maintain our freedoms and our ability to express ourselves and have products that we love and really work for us. But again, Steve, to be balanced, to be fair, we also know as well too, and this is why we want to do this episode, is because there are some bad actors out there everywhere. Yeah. So you have to question everything. And we love this industry, and we only want to see it to improve. So where people do the wrong things, they need to be brought to the forefront. Yeah.
Start by reading the labels, people.
Yep.
And go from there and ask a naturopath if you have any doubts.
Yep. Steve, anything else before we wrap up?
That's pretty much it. I've got a few other minor gripes, but that'll be another day.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks, Steve. That was fun. And we'll be back with Dr. Doug, I think, next week.
Yep.
Where we're going to be learning about nipping and tucking. Yep. And anyway, I think that should be really interesting.
It'll be fun.
So I think we're going to do a couple of episodes with him, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do. What are we going to do them on, Steve?
Well, one on cosmetic treatments.
Great.
That is like we're talking Botox, we're doing lip fillers and all this sort of stuff, and all the stuff that you want to know about, all that sort of stuff, and other sort of cosmetic things, lifts. He used to do
tucks.
lipo. Tucks.
Yeah.
Enlargements, if you're interested in that.
Does he?
He doesn't do the enlargements anymore.
Did he?
I think he did in the past.
Wow, I want to know.
He did lipo
for a friend
in the past.
Yeah. For a friend.
Yes. I know a guy that might. Yeah, but it's just a friend of mine. So,
really?
Yeah. Not me.
I think I know the answer to the story though, right?
Yeah.
It's all for show and not for go.
That's right.
Yeah, which is forget it. No.
But he's also been a doctor since as long as.
So the mighty acorn will not become a mighty oak.
No, it won't.
It'll just become a bigger acorn.
Correct.
Yeah,
it won't, because it fills up with blood. We better not talk about that too much now.
No, we'll get into it though, and it will probably have a little ears warning.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
And the other one
what's
is
the other one?
The changes of medicine in the last 50 years of what's evolved and where medicine's going and how it's all changed. Different drugs now for the same conditions. What's evolved? What used to be done 50 years ago is you'll be horrified.
Yeah, really.
Is the only way I can describe it.
Yeah.
You'll be horrified.
Yeah.
I won't give it away.
Okay.
But I've spoke because Doug's my shivers. Doug's my father-in-law, so there's we speak about there's some horrific stories. We're going to talk about the history of surgeries that he's witnessed, and we're going to talk about, for just one example, Doug knows the guy that exposed the whole thalidomide thing.
That's cool.
Knows him.
So this is the drug that caused babies to be born without limbs.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was huge. Which and again, we've spoken about a few times on the podcast, but it's interesting to get an insider's viewpoint on that.
And he's got one of the history of Botox. He knows the guys that first started it.
That's great.
I mean, it's like
are those guys rich, like super rich?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Well, Botox is as you know, is a brand name. It's botulinum toxin.
Yeah.
Interesting. And funny, we talk about alpha GPC before how it boosts acetylcholine. Well, Botox works by inhibiting acetylcholine. So instead of innervating your muscles, it stops your muscles. So you don't get wrinkles. That's just giving a little bit away.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
Very
All right, well, I look forward to that, Steve. We'll be doing that next week. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll be back next week. And see you next week, Steve.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.